What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are talking about the all-new 2021 Ford Bronco, and specifically how is the new Bronco going to affect the Jeep Wrangler, because up until now there is literally no other vehicle that can compete with a Wrangler. You're talking about an off-road oriented SUV, either a 4-door or a 2-door, where you can take the roof off, the doors off. You can do so many modifications with lift kits, wheels, tires, off-road accessories. You can do so many adventures with a Wrangler that nothing else can do. So now Ford has unveiled a 2021 Ford Bronco, which honestly looks insane. Now real quick, we'll just take a few quick looks at what the new Bronco is looking like. We'll take a look at some photos of it. I think it is insane looking. I love the new design. I really like the grille, how it looks with the Bronco written out. I think it just has a really cool design. You can definitely see some Jeep Wrangler aspects to the way it's designed. You can see how, with the removable roof and the doors and everything, it shares some similarities, but I definitely like the way it looks. I think the overall design just looks really cool, and I think they did a good job taking an old school design of what the old Bronco was and turning it into a modern day vehicle. There's a lot of really cool pictures on Ford's website. You can go ahead and check that out. I'll have that linked down below. But Ford has some really good advertising for the vehicle showing all the capabilities and everything like that. So then to get back onto the Wrangler versus the Jeep Bronco. The Wrangler versus the Ford Bronco. So on the Jeep page, first off, they are unveiling a concept of a V8 offered for the Wrangler, which honestly, it's about time. That is very needing for that kind of vehicle. It does say concept on the website, but a 450 horsepower, 450 pound-feet of torque V8 will be pretty sick, and I would assume they're gonna make it, so I'm not too worried there. On top of that, the Wrangler also now has a diesel, a 3-liter Eco Diesel V6. So you have some really good options for the Wrangler, the V8, normal V6, the turbo diesel V6, and then I believe there's still the 4-cylinder turbo. And then over on the Bronco side, you have a kind of a similar setup. You have an EcoBoost V6 and an EcoBoost 4-cylinder. So there are really good options available. I think the Jeep does have more engines, obviously, which is a good thing. But then if we look at the overall pricing, if we just go to specs, I think they're both priced out very similarly. We're starting at $28,200 on a 2-door base model Wrangler. The base model Ford Bronco is the same price. I think it's like $500 more. And then we have many different trim levels, from the base, the Big Bend, the Black Diamond, all sorts of them for the Bronco. And then looking up at the Jeep Wrangler, same story, so many different ones, 2-door, 4-door, hard tops, soft tops, a lot of different configurations. And then if we look back on the Ford Bronco, we'll just go with a Wild Track just because that's more of a fully loaded one. I mean, it just looks so cool. I love the bigger wheels and tires you get. I really like how the roof has more ways to take it off than the Wrangler, because you now can take off the front portion and the back portion of the roof, still leaving the rear glass pieces on it. The Wrangler just has the front portion of the roof that is removable. And then if we just go ahead and look at the exterior design with the 2-door, it looks similar to the way a 2-door Wrangler is going to look. Just a really cool 360 view you got on Ford's website. And one thing I did notice on the roof, it looks like there is a second piece even on the 2-door hardtop that you can remove. And then you got all the crazy colors. So I definitely like what they've done with it. It looks super good. And then looking at the 4-door, I mean, same thing. It's just a modern looking old school truck. I think they killed it with the design. And then if we look at the Wrangler, I think one issue with it, and don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on the Wrangler. I love it. You can buy them right now, good used ones for like 35 grand. The Bronco, you're talking about a year until now to actually be able to buy one. But on the Wrangler side, it really hasn't changed at all forever. It's been the exact same vehicle. Each generation, they have updated it and made it more modern. The JK is definitely a downgrade comparing to the JL. The JL, much nicer vehicle inside and out, but still looks the same. I wouldn't say it's anything crazy or futuristic. It's pretty normal looking. It looks like a Jeep, but I think with the Bronco, at least right now, these side-by-sides, I think the Bronco just has that futuristic look. And then when we go ahead and look at the interior, I think once again, the Bronco just looks so much better. We have different materials. We have more of a modern look to it, which again, it makes sense. It's 4 or 5 years newer, but I like how just the seats are and the whole design to it. The Wrangler, again, very generic looking, looks pretty normal. Still pretty nice. I mean, the JL, again, looks way better than a JK. But yeah, for sure, I'm not trying to be a fanboy of the Bronco, but I think Ford killed it with the design inside and out. It is everything you would want it to be and then some. The Wrangler, it'll be interesting to see if they update it, because looking at the interior photo right here now, let's go with a Rubicon. Again, it looks very normal looking, nothing above and beyond. But then when we go back to the Bronco, it just has that modern look with a bigger screen. I think the buttons look a little cleaner. You have a screen in the center gauges, all sorts of things in it. And then as far as capabilities go, on Ford's website, they're claiming best-in-class departure and breakover, best-in-class ground clearance, best-in-class water fording. So clearly that is competing against the Wrangler, and Ford is already telling you that the Bronco is better at all those things. And then we have the different 4x4 systems, the transfer cases, manual transmission is available on the 4-cylinder model. So you have quite a lot, and I think the Wrangler is definitely the outdated version of what the Bronco is. I think with the Bronco, they've taken everything that the Wrangler has and just completely did a fit and finish refresh on it to make it their own. Every piece on the new Bronco just looks like it's a finished product, no loose ends. Even with the roof off and the doors off, I think it just looks like it should have them off. The Wrangler's more, you take them off and you see the hinges exposed and stuff like that. So I think the fit and finish is already looking better on the Bronco, and they've definitely just taking it to that whole new level. So with all that said, my biggest question now is, do you guys think that the Bronco is going to steal sales from a Jeep Wrangler? Because in the big three, you know, the Ford, Chevy, Dodge, or GM, Ford, Chrysler, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of people who only buy one brand. They stick with Ford all the way. They will never buy another car. They stick with Chrysler products. They'll never buy a different brand. So for all the Jeep owners watching, will you trade in your Wrangler next year for the new Bronco? Because obviously it is going to be a step above as far as the capabilities, the looks, the design, the fit and finish, and just I think everything it can do is probably better than a Wrangler. Can't confirm that yet, of course, but it seems like the Bronco is definitely a next step up. So Jeep guys, are you gonna trade in your Jeep Wranglers and get a Ford Bronco? For me, I'm a big fan of both of them. As you guys have seen, my brother and I really like the Wrangler, and honestly, we each wanna buy one very soon because they're pretty sweet, and you can get one now, 35 grand for a good used one. Like I said, that's a heck of an off-roader. The Bronco, that's gonna be a year away, so not really worth talking about buying one just because that's at least a year away. We can have a lot of fun with the Wrangler right now. But for me, I don't really care. I don't have a bias towards which one I would buy or not. If I had a Wrangler right now, honestly, next year, I'd look into a Bronco to trade it in for one because I think it's a really good looking truck. And since there hasn't been anything to compete with the Wrangler, anybody who wants an off-road SUV where you can take the doors off, the roof off, and have all those capabilities that no other SUV has, the Wrangler has been the only option. There simply is nothing else. Now that we have a true competitor, everything that the Wrangler can do, I think the Bronco can do. The only difference is solid front axle on the Wrangler. From what I've seen, at least, it's independent front suspension on the Bronco, but you do have sway bar disconnect, which is really nice. So that's the only real difference that I'm seeing, and I don't think that's too big of a deal. I think everything else with the technology that a Bronco is going to offer, I think is still going to outperform a Wrangler. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jeep guys are going to trade it in for the Bronco, and it's also interesting to wonder, are there a lot of people out there who have not bought a Wrangler yet just because they don't want a Chrysler and they've always wanted a Bronco again, or can't talk about Chevy, which we'll talk about in a second, or have always wanted like Chevy to bring back something or something like that. Are there people out there who wanted a Wrangler but aren't going to buy a Chrysler? So actually, real quick, we'll talk about Chevy, and other people have mentioned this as well. Why didn't Chevrolet make the Blazer and Trailblazer something like the Bronco? Because on the Bronco, we have three different actual Broncos. We have a Bronco Sport, and then a two-door, and then we have the four-door as well. So looking at the Bronco Sport, this is based off the Ford Escape. It's the smaller SUV, but the Bronco Sport is more of an off-roady, aggressive-looking Ford Escape pretty much. And then if we look at Chevrolet, the new Trailblazer is kind of the same category. It's a smaller SUV, a little crossover. Why couldn't they make that as cool as this? Something that's more boxy, more off-road oriented, and just has that fun design. And then the Chevy Blazer right now is just another crossover, as everybody's making, and they all are looking the same nowadays. But the Chevy Blazer, why couldn't they do something like this, like Ford has just done? Make a cool four-door and a two-door version of an off-road, boxy, fun vehicle. Because the Wrangler has been selling like crazy, the Raptor's been selling like crazy. These off-road vehicles are a really hot topic. And I think Chevy definitely lost out with the Blazer and Trailblazer. They should have done something like this. But Ford, they take the win for doing the smart thing, and I think this is going to be super successful. But it definitely leaves you wondering, is this gonna kill Jeep Wrangler sales? I think it is. I think it is maybe not gonna kill it, but I think it is definitely going to dip into it because there's never been a competitor to the Wrangler, and now we have a competitor, and with competition, obviously people are gonna be choosing sides, and I think maybe like 20% of Wrangler owners are probably gonna trade theirs in and get the Bronco. I don't think everybody is, because I'm sure a lot of diehard Jeep fans are diehard Jeep fans and will never change and will only buy a Jeep, which is perfectly fine. You know, people like what they like. But I think a good percentage of Wrangler owners are going to want to switch into the new Bronco. And I think a lot of people out there have probably wanted a Wrangler but didn't quite want to get into a Chrysler. My dad is one of them. He is a Ford fan. He's had Fords forever. He's now driving a Toyota 4Runner because, well, Toyotas are super reliable, as he enjoys, and he will never buy a Chrysler. He does not like their quality. He hates them. The Bronco, though, next year, he's looking to trade the 4Runner for the Bronco. So my dad is one of those people who kind of likes the Jeep and always wanted one, but is not going to buy one because it's a Chrysler. So Bronco is something that he's looking at. My mom's got a Ford Escape. It'd be nice if she traded that in for the Ford Bronco Sport. That would be super awesome. There's a ton of videos out there showing all the specs of the Bronco. I'll have a few linked down below. Check them out. Some people did a really good job diving into everything that this new vehicle has to offer. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about, comparing, or not really comparing, but just talking about the sales aspects of a Wrangler versus the Ford Bronco. Comment down below, what do you guys think? Is the Bronco gonna kill the Jeep sales, or is it just gonna bring a whole new demographic of people who have wanted this type of vehicle but didn't wanna buy a Jeep? So leave your comments down below. I'd love to see what you guys are all thinking. But I think that's about it for today's video. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for plenty more content to come. And maybe, just maybe, one of these vehicles might be coming to the channel very, very soon. You never know. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'll see you next video.